What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fight Out podcast with Alan Mike. Today we're breaking down UFC 308, which is this upcoming weekend's card. Probably the biggest card we've had, obviously, for a while with the fight nights, but in terms of even the pay-per-views, fight for fight, me personally, this is the one I've been most excited about for a while, including the Noche card, which turned out to be unreal. But actually looking at the fights, this is the one I'm looking forward to the most. What do you think, Mike? Am I on the money or am I well off?
Yeah, I agree. You can't judge UFC cards on paper, as we've learned over the years, but on paper, this has got everything to be an absolute barn burner, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it has. There's a few little fights there where you can see big knockouts,
Yeah,
which is what I watch the UFC for anyway.
yeah,
And there's a few very highly technical fights that you kind of and ahhing on which way they're going to go. So
yeah,
we'll jump right in then. First fight on the main card, the Bullet. We both love him. We're very complimentary of him.
yeah.
He's got his next upcoming fight. Last time he fought it, pretty much went how we thought it would, kind of thing. He looks slightly more human, but he's still got a decent, impressive win. He's obviously coming up now. He's fighting Arman Petrosian. Still unbeaten, the Bullets. I anticipate him still unbeaten after it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And I think with the Bullets, he gives me that impression that sometimes on the come up, fighters have a couple of fights where they stumble a little bit. And it's because they're fighting someone who's just fighting a purely defensive fight. They're not the last couple of fights for Shara. I don't think the opponent's gone in there to win. They've gone in there to sort of look hard. Like, I've took a late notice fight against Shara Bullets. Like, give me what I deserve, sort of thing. I think Arman Petrosian's going to win, and I think that'll suit Shara Bullets. I think this will be like a bit of a coming out party for him. An absolute striking masterclass, I'm saying.
You going to finish?
No, I'm going for 3 round domination on the cards.
Okay.
30-26, I'm saying.
Okay, I can see a finish, to be honest.
Yeah.
I
I
don't
hope.
think it's going to come very early, though, or not necessarily like that. I just think he's going to eventually find the shot, and he's going
I
to
hope so.
probably. I would probably go round two if you're asking me personally.
He's exciting, isn't he? It's like I find myself now, if I see a card over in Abu Dhabi, I'm looking for him. I'm looking for his name, because obviously he's not fighting in America, so I'm constantly
Yeah,
like, is Shadow on this card, and that's exciting for an unranked fighter.
yeah. That's it. I was just about to touch on that. I'm just waiting for him to obviously take the leap now and get the kind of big matchup where. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think he's got it, but there's always that test of when you start fighting ranked and you're like, okay, how good is he? Where is his level? Is he going to look very human once he gets into the top 15, or is he going to get the right matchup? He's going to maul him. He's going to fly into the top 10. He's going to fly into the top 5. I'm excited for that. And obviously, this fight isn't it, but it's just another time to, like you're saying, just watch him fight, and he's always got a finish in him.
Yeah, well, a couple of things for me. He's in a weight division that I don't personally think's that deep. We spoke about middleweight last night a little bit when we were sort of watching the
Yeah,
fights, the Ngannou fight and stuff. I don't think middleweight's that deep. And another thing I wanted to touch on, I think Shara's on a bit of a Paddy Pimblett come up, where he's had a couple of fights where he's like stumbled a little bit. I think if you throw him in with a top fighter who's coming to win, I think he beats him handedly, like Paddy did Bobby Green.
yeah, yeah. I'm not going to disagree. I mean, like I said, this isn't the fight, but
No,
he eventually gets that fight. I think, yeah, the coming out party could be massive for him. So we're both going Shara. I'm going finish. You're just going decision.
yeah,
Moving on to the next fight, we've got Ankalaev versus Rakic, which is a huge fight in this division. There was a bit of confusion when it got announced about, because I think people were saying Ankalaev was going to fight for the belt. I was one of them. Like, I really did think that was the next fight for Pereira before he fought Khalil. So it is what it is. We've got this fight. It's a massive, massive fight for the division. Regardless of what Pereira said recently, I think the winner fights him next year whenever he decides to come back. I think he's talking March time. I seen him say. And for me, it's quite a close fight, but it's also one of them that I could see Ankalaev turning it into a one-sided victory, to be honest.
right. You know what I'm like with the Russians and with Ankalaev in particular. I just think he's been neglected so much, and someone's going to pay for it. And I've got a horrible feeling it's Rakic who's going to have to pay for it, because I like Rakic. I like watching him fight, but mate, Ankalaev should have been the champion. Should have been the champion of the world, and he hasn't fought since that fight, has he?
No, he fought.
Has he had one since?
No, he fought Johnny Walker, didn't he? Fought Johnny
Oh,
Walker. He
did
had
he?
the weird no contest when he
Yeah.
didn't the doctor come in?
Between rounds, did they get stopped? Was that what it was?
And that's what, and then he rebooked the fight and he beat him.
Yeah.
But it was a
Yeah.
while, wasn't it? It was a while after the Blachowicz fight.
Yeah, so I personally, obviously the Blachowicz fight was coming on 2 years ago now, but I had Ankalaev winning that fight. He obviously took a lot of damage to the legs, but he dominated the third, fourth, and fifth in that fight for me, and he should have been a champion. And I think there's potentially could have been quite a dominant champion. Now he's had that taken away from him, rightly or wrongly, however you see it. But I think someone's going to have to pay for that, and I think it'll be Rakic on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean another thing with Rakic for me, and it's kind of not his fault really. But his activity isn't as high as Ankalaev's, and Ankalaev isn't exactly the most active either, which I've mentioned it a few times on these. I do think activity plays a lot of parts in it, and I'd imagine when you're heavier and bigger like that, it's going to play a part even more because you're naturally heavier, you're naturally going to feel more sluggish if you're not as active. I know he's training and stuff like that, but you can't replicate a fight, and he's also coming off 2 losses. Okay, against the top of the division, but I think all of that plays into Ankalaev. Like I said, I think it's a close fight, but I can also see Ankalaev turning it very one-sided if he wants to.
I'll be honest, I can't see a dominant win, but I can see a win. I can see a win and a handy win, but I can't see him like taking him down, holding him down for 5 rounds. What doesn't get spoken about enough with Ankalaev is he isn't really just a grappler. He's a kickboxer as well. He's a really competent kickboxer. I think the Blachowicz fight was probably his biggest fight to date, and obviously he had to use his grappling as much as possible in that fight because his legs were completely compromised. So I think he's got like this. He's got sort of that Russian Dagestani wrestling like sort of nickname when it's not really his approach. He's a really competent striker, and I think we'll see a good striking match on Saturday with a good bit of wrestling mixed in when he needs to.
Nice, I like it. Okay, moving on to the next fight on the card, the one before the co-main, the people's main event it usually is. Yeah. And I think they're going for that kind of vibe again with Dan Ige being involved in it. Got Ron Murphy, obviously a UK boy. He's on a very good run. Obviously, Dan Ige is an absolute savage in the fight game. I think it's a big test for Lerone, and I think it's a nice sort of. When it first came out, I was quite critical of the fight because Ige had just fought Lopez on like half an hour's notice, and I was like, if you're the UFC, surely you give him a nice fight, like a reward fight almost in terms of name and also the fight itself. Like this is a tough fight for Dan Ige, but now I'm thinking about it more. If Dan Ige wins, he's not getting a title shot, but he's right back in the. He's probably one fight away. Then if he fights the right person and like kind of all the other bits and bobs play out because Lerone Murphy's on the track for a title shot, gets a couple of wins, he's right up there. And I think that's the kind of maybe the angle the UFC have gone down. I don't know, but I really like this fight. I think it could be a bit of a barn burner, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head. And when you think about that Dan Ige fight on short notice with Diego Lopez, how much did his stock go up there?
Yeah,
and obviously he's Lerone Murphy's flying the crest of a wave at the minute anyway with a few good wins, namely his most recent win. I think it was did he beat Barboza?
Yeah.
So he beat Barboza recently, so he's took a bit of stock from that name. But if Ige can
headline as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was its own fight night, man. If Ige can take that hype and run away with that winning streak, take something near the top 10, and then if you sort of are people's favourite and you're knocking about that top 10, you're never far off a title shot.
Nah, that's what I mean. You're the right fight off a title shot in terms of yourself, and also the other stuff playing out. Like let's say, obviously Max Holloway is this weekend. Let's say the winner fights Volk, and Volk, and the champion remains the same. Well, you kind of the next up and comers there are one fight off because you can't put Volk back in there because he's lost to the champion twice now. You know what I mean? Like it's not a million miles off for a win here.
And Ige's probably got in the back of his mind, and probably some fans after it was a close fight with Diego Lopez on very short notice.
What was impressive was Ige won the later rounds.
Yeah, that was what shocked me. Yeah, I mean, Lopez is what I don't want to talk too much about other fighters, but Lopez is one of them, and you could see him burning himself out early because he's constantly going for the kill.
Yeah.
But he looked really good in that, and it was on, as you say, about 65 seconds notice.
Literally was. The funny thing was, I watched him. Again, I don't want to talk about it too much, but I watched that card the next day, and obviously I didn't check my phone and actually didn't 0-1. And I fast forwarded it in between fights, so I didn't hear the UFC announced that Young were fighting Ortega. And next thing, Dan Ige walked out, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?"
I remember you texted me. You texted me in the morning, didn't you? And said, "What the fuck did you see that?" I was expecting Ortega. The next thing it was fucking Dan Ige.
Yeah. Oh man,
I go and fight this fella. Honestly,
I was like, "What is going on here?" And then obviously I found out it was literally like 3 hours notice. But yeah, back to the fight itself. I think Lerone Murphy's going to get the win. I'm going to back the UK boy. I feel like I say it every fight, oh, it is a tough fight, but it is because, you know, Ige's a bit of a veteran now as well and stuff like that. I just think Lerone Murphy's on that rise where he's knocking on the door now, and he's 1 or 2 fights away from the title shot.
Yeah, you like the activity shout, and I like the shout of, I think sometimes just winning breeds winning. And when you're on that wave, it's hard to come off of it, and I'm not sure Dan Ige's got enough to take him off of it, so I'm going for Lerone Murphy myself.
Yeah. And then that brings us to the co-main, which, I mean, I'm very, very excited for the main event, but I'm a bit of a Khamzat fanboy. Like, when he actually gets in there, there's not many more exciting than him. You know, he's a bit of a berserker, and he just comes out, starts to pick it up, throw it on your head. He's got a very good first round in him. And Robert Whittaker is also one of my favourite fighters in the UFC. I think this fight is absolutely mental, you know, honestly. The amount of times I've flip-flopped and how it's going to... I'm still not sure. I still haven't got a decision in my head right now, I'll be honest, about who I'm going to go with. I'm going to sort of figure it out as we're talking.
I think before we get actually into the nuts and bolts of the fight, I think if you could say to me, make any 5 fights in the UFC at the minute, this co-main and the main will be in my top 5. So, what a card. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do like it. The main event we'll obviously get to in a sec. And I think in both of these fights, we were talking last night about the UFC stars. Both of these fights have got the potential to make massive stars of Illia and Khamzat for me. I think Illia's got everything to be the next biggest star in the UFC and potentially become the face of it in some ways, like similar to the way Conor did. He's got the look, he can fight. You know, if he fights the right people, he could potentially have 2 belts, stuff like that. I think if Islam moves away, if Islam stays, like, he's got no chance. And then Khamzat, Pereira basically done kind of what we thought Khamzat was going to do at welterweight and middleweight, where he's got the 2 belts. But let's be honest, if Khamzat can just get over this, whatever it is, the illnesses, the injuries, the pulling out, the not fighting, and he fights regular like he did initially, he's a problem for everyone, especially for that first 5 minutes.
Yeah, he's unbelievable to watch, Khamzat, and it's with the UFC, it's recency bias in, and if someone pulls out a couple of times, they lose a lot of stock. And unfortunately for Khamzat, he's lost his stock, but we're a fickle bunch as UFC fans, and if he comes back and has an impressive win on Saturday night, all them pull-outs and injuries and illnesses will be forgotten quick, and there'll be clamour for a title shot, mate, trust me.
I think he's a bit of a victim of his own success, because he was rolling everyone, and it was obviously going to come to a time where he didn't roll his next opponent, and it was Gilbert Burns. Didn't roll him, and I've watched the fight a few times. For me, Khamzat wins the fight, like just wins the fight. But at the end of the day, a win's a win. If that's anyone else, you're going, oh my God, he's beat Gilbert Burns, who's just fought for a title, blah, blah, blah. And then again, his last fight, short notice against Usman. Usman, who's an absolute dog, by the way. Leon made him look average in that 3rd fight, but that's not the way Usman is at all. He's fighting upperweight, okay, because he fought him at middleweight. And again, it was a close fight. I can potentially see a bit of an argument for Usman. I can see Khamzat, but at the end of the day, he got the nod, he won. People should be saying, well, we should beat Usman then on short notice. Yeah. But they're not, because they're expecting him to just come through and maul everyone.
Exactly. I think when we spoke about Khamzat recently, I think I said the same. I think he's a victim of his own success, and when people look so dominant early, people just think they're going to look that dominant for the whole career, mate. The GOATs of the sport didn't look dominant throughout the whole career. Most people have suffered a loss. I know Khabib didn't, John Jones hasn't suffered a proper loss. but there's been times where they both look vulnerable. Khabib less so, but John Jones for certain. So if you thought Khamzat was going to come up and just run through everybody, you haven't watched the sport enough. You haven't seen what can happen and how styles can make fights. This isn't boxing where you're an elite boxer, so it's really hard to beat you, mate. If you're not elite everywhere, you're going to struggle.
Yeah. And we're talking a lot about Khamzat here for obvious reasons. But Robert Whittaker is an absolute mountain for him to climb as well.
Yeah.
It's 5 rounds, isn't it? Which I think plays into it. In fact, is it 5 rounds? Let me double check that. I'm pretty sure it is.
I'm not sure actually. I thought it was 3, but I could easily be wrong.
Let me just get on Google there. But the point being, like with Whittaker, he's fought everyone. He's like kind of always in the title picture. He's always 1 or 2 away.
Yeah.
And obviously beating him's got big sort of things for the division and like your next fight and stuff.
Yeah.
But he's also only 1 or 2 away himself from fighting, because there's a new champion that he hasn't fought. It is 5 rounds.
Saying beating Whittaker like it's an easy task, mate. It's going to be a tough fight.
Yeah.
And Khamzat's not going to run through Whittaker the same way he didn't run through Gilbert Burns, same way he didn't run through Usman. It's going to be a close fight, and he'll be damaged. People think that at the end of the fight, Khamzat's just going to be absolutely sound, no marks on him. He's going to be damaged. He's going to be cut. He's going to be hurt, and so is Whittaker. It's going to be a barn burner. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, I can see a finish either way. I can see somebody getting finished, because I think there's a potential in there where Khamzat, when it comes to round 3, round 4. We've seen him in a round 3, haven't we, a couple of times, and he does look tired. Never seen him in a round 4. You know, it's going to be interesting to kind of see him there if it gets there. And I can see him being finished there, potentially. But on the flip side, if he comes out and does what he does, initially, I know it's not the same caliber, but Kevin Holland picked him up right away, put him on his head, rolled him for a minute and a half, subbed him, come out. Gerald Meerschaft at 1 punch, knocked him out.
Yeah.
He picked up Li Jingliang, finished him in the first. He's got finishes in him from anywhere. He can punch, he can kick, he can submit. And there's a big danger for Whittaker of that, no matter how experienced he is and stuff. And then there's a danger for Khamzat, I feel like, when it goes a bit later. So I can see a finish either way.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think it's going to be a really close fight. The only thing I'd say on that, I think you could see potentially a bit more of a conservative Khamzat in this fight, a bit of an energy saving Khamzat. I think you've got to learn at some point, and on the come up it's easy to just blitz fight, but I think at some point you have to learn, and not every movement has to be a finishing movement. When he has people on the ground, every movement's a sub. He's trying to get a sub. It's never just like control. It's never positional. He's trying to get a sub all the time, and I think you might see I'm not saying he'll be boring and he'll be Marab. But I think we could see a bit more of a conservative Khamzat, where he wants to maybe win a round rather than win the fight right now.
Yeah. I know what you're saying with that, and I do think it'll come. But I personally don't think it comes now, because I think it comes when he's active.
Yeah.
When he's fighting regular, and like you're saying, he's getting the IQ and he's in there. Like, he's come. What's his layoff now? It must be over a year again. It is, it's over a year again.
I think it's roughly a year, but before that it was another 18 months or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, like, he's coming in after not being in there for a while. Like, his adrenaline's going to be sky high, he's going to be excited, all of these things. I think he's just going to come in and be a berserker again. But yeah, I get the point that you're making, where eventually it's going to come to it where he's going to be more relaxed in there. He's going to have more of a strategy, if you will, rather than just, I'm going to pick you up, I'm going to drop you, I'm going to submit you from everywhere. As a neutral and just a watcher of the UFC, I hope you're right, and I hope he does come in like a berserker, because fuck me, it's interesting to watch. But as a Khamzat fan, and I like Whittaker as well, but for this one, I want to see Khamzat win no matter what. Yeah. Which brings us to, we've got to give a prediction. I'm going Khamzat. Yeah. Coming back in a big way. I'm gonna go Khamzat finish. I'm going Khamzat, and I'm going Khamzat sub. But I am excited for this fight. This could be my number 1 fight to make in the UFC. I can't. One big one for me that overarches it, like, which is Aspinall Jones or Aspinall Pereira. Don't care, not picky, either one. Aspinall Jones might eclipse it, but Aspinall Pereira doesn't eclipse this one for me.
I love Khamzat, mate. I love him.
Yeah, I know. The funny thing is, like, when Khamzat first come in, we were talking, we could see him at light heavyweight potentially, and middleweight and welterweight. Well, obviously he fought at welterweight. And like now, like we're saying, not to just make the same point, but victim of his own success, people are saying, oh, he's never even going to hold the belt. He's one fight away, mate, from getting the title shot, and Khamzat's a problem for Zarikas.
If he wins this and wins it well, it's a title shot, simple.
Yeah, I think the UFC want it to be as well, to be honest. Okay, so that brings us into the main event. In the words of John Anna, the fight in which around the fight card was built. Illia Holloway. Just talking about like the making of it at first. Again, I initially thought it was potentially the wrong fight to take for Holloway after what he'd done to Gaethje, because I felt like he obviously had the BMF belt, which is more or less a division on its own, because you can fight anyone there. He could fight up again potentially even at 170 against someone. Obviously, you can fight anyone at lightweight kind of thing. And I felt like he had a position at lightweight where he could, again, he was probably one fight away from a title shot at lightweight. Yeah. Then he gets the title shot against Illia at featherweight, which is obviously always a tough cut for him. And at first I was like, I probably wouldn't have done that, but in hindsight, it's a title shot. Of course you're going to take it. He's got the chance here to really upset the apple cart, come back, get his old belt back. If he gets his old belt back, he's got a chance of Volk again, who you know he's dying to get at. And then, yeah, he's got the young bull in Illia that he's got to get through. Very, very interesting fight.
It's, to be honest, I was just sitting there letting you eulogise there, because I honestly don't know what to say about this fight. This is like I say this every week, but this is an actual 50-50, and I haven't got a clue what to say. Like, I really can't see how this fight ends. I can see it. I can see a world where Illia gets his hand raised for an absolute vicious KO. I can see a world where Illia looks really disappointed with all blood on his face, while Max has got his hand raised for a 5-round war. I can just see both.
I can never see Max getting finished. Obviously, it's like, I used to think the same about like Nate Diaz, and I was like, eventually he's going to get finished. And like, because Diaz never, I feel like Max can't. Because like the two of them have got probably the best jaws ever. And like, that is in my mind. Like, that's one big caveat to this fight for me, where I'm like, okay, yeah, Illia's vicious, mate. He's knocking out at that Jai Herbert knockout. I've seen that live. He was losing that fight, by the way. He got dropped.
Yeah,
I was majorly against him. He was in a dark place in that first round, in my opinion, and then pulls a knockout out like that. Obviously, polarized Wolf as well. But was the Islam knockout playing into that? But then leading into Max is a different animal when it comes to a chin. Like, Gaethje weren't the best in that fight, or Max made him look not the best. But he's still taking big punches off him. That's a weight up against a big puncher at lightweight. Illia's got massive knockout power. I don't know if Max can get knocked out. Obviously he can, but I mean, like, in my head, I'm like, nah, he can't.
Gaethje just hasn't got that same like technique and power to put people away as he. Like, Illia's got it, like, probably like I don't think I've seen in the UFC at that weight. Like, McGregor had the touch of death, the one shot touch of death, but Illia's got like vicious combinations. I haven't seen that. And if you've seen them videos he puts on Instagram of him hitting the heavy bag, mate, I know an heavy bag doesn't hit back, but it wouldn't if it could. It couldn't be asked. It's ridiculous. He strikes like a top level boxer, and then he's got a black belt on the ground. How do you beat that? How do you beat that?
Yeah, but in the words of Islam now, who gave him this black belt? Who gave him it? I agree. What?
That was about Poirier, wasn't it? Is that Poirier?
Yeah, black belt. Who'll give him this? Yeah, he is a problem. Like Illia is an absolute problem, and to be honest, all logic points towards Illia.
Yeah,
up and coming, still fighting at featherweight. He's got the knockout power. He's knocking everyone out. But then, Max Holloway is just an absolute dog in there. Like, the thing is, his famous move, in my opinion, actually could be the downfall of him. If he points the middle of the octagon and has a slugfest with Illia, and Illia, like you're saying, is a sniper and decides, hang on a minute, I'm going to step back and unload this right hand on you, that could be the downfall of Max. In there is a fight. I remember that fight against Calvin Kattar for Max.
Yeah.
Didn't he hit him the most ever? The most ever anyone's been punched in the head was Calvin Kattar.
I thought that was going to be the end of Calvin Kattar. I mean, he's come back and fought since, but I thought that might have been the end. I think in one round there, he got it like 87 times in the head or something in one round.
They are the type of fights that take years off your career. Like.
Oh, 100%. And that was probably the slickest Max has ever looked.
Yeah.
And if he wants to win on Saturday, he needs to look slicker than that.
Yeah. I think the thing is for Max, he's in a very interesting position because the BMF belt's not on the line. So no matter what, he's still got that belt and he's still got another big fight. And he's still ranked at lightweight. He's still in the lightweight rankings at like 8 or 7 or something, isn't he? So I think he had one eye on moving up to lightweight by the sounds of it from what he said in interviews and stuff. But a bit of a coin toss fight, a featherweight first to get out the way.
Yeah, I think it's with the Gaethje knockout, his stock rose that much that he had to fight for the title. And I don't think they could justify him fighting Islam because I think pure discrepancy in size. Like, Islam's a big lightweight. Max is a tall but not a massive featherweight. And I just think they know that would have been utter domination. I think did Max step in once to fight Khabib, but the doctor wouldn't let him. He stepped in on short notice. Didn't need to fight Khabib at one point, but the doctor wouldn't let him cut so much weight in a week. And I think that was a fucking good decision because I wouldn't want to see Max in there with one of them big lightweights. But I harped on for about 30 seconds there saying I don't know what to think about this fight, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and say I fancy Illia to win and I fancy him to win by knockout. The more I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. I mean, the two of them have fought at lightweight, Illia and Max. Yeah. And to be fair, when Max fought Poirier, you look back at it and you can clearly see that he's a featherweight fighting at lightweight. Like, he's just got a big fat head. His body was more or less the same. So you can tell he ate up to the weight. When he fought Gaethje, he looked a lot bigger. And obviously he's older now anyway. Quite a few years older, so he is going to be naturally bigger. Yeah. And I think he's a naturally bigger man. I think he's much bigger than Illia, like more than people think. Because Max is so like slim. Yeah. I've seen him last week on a video. He looks a bit gaunt and that. But I think he's naturally quite a lot bigger than Illia in terms of like size and stuff like that. But then with that being said, Illia's got the one-touch knockout power. I'm also going to go with Illia, but I think it's 5-round war.
I wouldn't be devastated to watch it. Like, I think if Illia gets him, I think he gets him later in the fight, like 3rd or 4th, I think.
I think this is one of them fights where afterwards people are going to be saying Max won, people are going to be saying Illia won.
Yeah.
More people are going to be saying Illia won. But then I think this is Max's last ever fight at featherweight. I think after that he moves up to lightweight and he's messing about with that BMF.
Yeah. I've got like a harmony with dominant superstar champions, and like you can't take Max's star away from him. He's always going to be a star of the sport. But I want Illia to win purely for the dominant status of like he's beaten Max, he's knocked out Volk. Who does he fight next? This Diego Lopez who's on the come up, he knocks him out. Then Aljo gets a win, he knocks him out. Like if you go on a run like that, you can't not love it.
No. That's it. I think the UFC is starving for superstars. And between Khamzat and Illia, you've got the potential for 2 big superstars. If they both get a win, and then like you're saying, they start to build, like Khamzat then will have a title shot. Illia will be the champion still. You're talking big superstars then. And I don't like the way everyone gets a belt and goes for the second belt. Yeah. But like you're saying, if Illia does what you just said there, beats Max, beats Diego Lopez, then he beats an Aljo or someone like that, someone else on the come up. They're big wins. Then you can look to move to lightweight, and by then I think Islam will have potentially moved on as well, because I do think Islam is a big challenge for him.
Yeah.
If you've got another champion in that division, why couldn't Illia beat him?
No arguments from me. No arguments from me. So have we gone 5 and 5 on the main card there?
Yeah.
The way I'm gonna differentiate us. What's going to be fight of the night?
Fight of the night. I'm going Max Illia.
I'm going Khamzat Rob. So at least we've gone different on that one.
Okay. Well, last time you got 5 out of 5. So if anyone listening wants to win some money, mate. I mean, we've actually got the same predictions there, but if anyone wants to win some money,
yeah, follow us in, mate. Follow us.
Yeah. But yeah, well, that concludes the main card then. I mean, on the prelims, there's not... It's a decent prelim card, don't get me wrong, but there's no one like I'm dying to see on it where you've got like the big up-and-comer or anything. The
No.
Jeff Santos fight is obviously a classic one, and I'm liking. But there's no like, up and coming like the other week we had Chris Duncan and stuff like that. There's no one like that on there for me. But the main card itself is absolute fireworks.
I don't like to talk too much about like Jeff Neal fights. I don't find them massively exciting, to be honest.
I do like the Santos though.
I like the Santos. He's been long in its tooth. He's been in the game for years, but I really like the Santos, and I hope he comes through, but I'm not sure he will with Jeff Neal's style.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the final note there is definitely UFC needs superstars. We've got a superstar fight card. There's potentially 4 massive stars that come out of this night. A lot of fights where I won't argue it. If you say the other one's going to win, kind of thing. I think we're going to see quite a lot of finishes on the main card. We might see a short main card where it's one of them where it's just finish after finish after finish. I can see it, but all I know is I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this for myself. I think this will be a cracking card. Can't wait for it.
Well, thanks everyone for watching again. If you can remember to like, comment, subscribe, let us know if you agree, disagree with us down in the comments, and we'll see you in the next one.